Hello and welcome back. In this lesson, we're going to utilize the custom data argument to bootstrap our instance and install the Docker engine. This will allow us to have a Linux VM instance deployed with Docker ready to go for all of our development needs. So let's get started. All right, first of all, what I want to do is create a new file. And we're just going to call that customdata.tpl. Now, TPL is the extension we typically use for template files. We're not going to make this necessarily a template file, but just for consistency's sake, we're going to use that here just in case you'd like to eventually add some variables. But for right now, let's go ahead and paste in the code provided in the lesson. Should be a bash script. Just like so, and what this is going to do is install all of the dependencies necessary to install Docker on our machine. So go ahead and save that and feel free to close that tab. And then what I want to do is add the custom data argument. And I'm just going to go ahead and put that up here near the top. So custom data equals. Now remember how I said we'd be using the file-base64 function soon? Well, this is where we're going to use it. As you can see, the file-base64 function is very much like the file function, but what it does is it encodes it in base64, which is what the custom data field for Azure is expecting. So let's go ahead and file-base64, open and close some parens there, and we're going to pass in customdata.tpl, just like so. And of course, if this was not in this directory, you would specify the directory where it could be found. But since it's in this directory, we don't need to specify any slashes or anything like that. All right, perfect. So that's actually all we've got to do there as far as coding goes. Let's go ahead and run our Terraform FMT, and then let's run a Terraform plan. All right, perfect. Now we've got something a little bit different this time around. We've got 1 to add, 0 to change, 1 to destroy. So this isn't changed because custom data requires the VM to be redeployed for it to be read. So it's going to destroy our instance and replace it with a new one. As you can see here, custom data forces replacement. Now, another cool thing you can see is sensitive value. Certain arguments can be dedicated as sensitive, and custom data is one of those. This way, it does not show up here. Now, it can still show up in your state, and that data, of course, is still in this file, but it's not going to show up right here for everyone to see in your terminal. All right, so perfect. This is exactly what we want. Let's go ahead and run a Terraform apply. Auto approve, just like so. All right, apply complete. As you saw, there was a pretty long destruction process, but everything looks to be up. Let's go ahead and see if we can log in now. So we're going to need to get that IP address again. So let's run our Terraform state list, and we'll just grab that virtual machine right there, and Terraform state show. Paste that in. I'll scroll up a bit, and there it is, a brand new fresh IP address. So let's go ahead. And I just ran a Control-R there, and I'm going to start typing SSH. That saves me a lot of typing right there. If you press Control-R and search for that SSH command, that should help you out. Otherwise, feel free to type it out manually again. Paste in that new IP address and type yes. All right, we are in our brand new VM. Let's see what happens. Let's go ahead and run a docker -- version. Bam, perfect. So now we have Docker installed on our brand new VM ready to go. So go ahead and mark this lesson complete. Come on back to the next one and let's continue the course.